The ACE sector in Australia is enormously diverse. The 2008 Declaration on ACE, Ministerial Declaration on ACE, had two definitions of ACE. The first definition was of non-formal learning programs offered by any provider type, and the second definition was of a sector of not-for-profit community-based adult education providers. Victoria, New South Wales and South Australia have what you might call a sectoral approach to ACE. So in those states, when we talk about ACE, we talk about a group of not-for-profit community-based adult education providers. The other states and territories tend to refer to ACE as a set of non-formal learning programs that are offered by a diverse group of providers, public providers, private providers and community-based providers as well. So there are a whole group also of very important players in the ACE space that operate in very informal community-based ways. So a good example would be neighbourhood houses. There are around 1,200 neighbourhood houses across Australia, and most of those would offer adult education in one form or another, either as a fee-for-service activity or run by volunteers or funded through local governments. Another good example would be men's sheds. Men's sheds, there are over 1,000 men's sheds in Australia, and they're a new and emerging informal learning environment that's very prevalent, particularly in rural and regional Australia. Another good example would be universities of the third age, which are a 100% volunteer-based organisation, run by volunteers. The classes are taught by volunteers, and there are over 85,000 participants in universities of the third age across Australia. Also, public libraries are very important providers of adult and community education, of courses and classes in many instances, but also of informal learning opportunities. So all of these very diverse groups make up the adult and community education sector. So the diversity of the ACE sector is both its greatest strength and its greatest weakness. It's its greatest strength because it shows that these organisations are very resilient and are genuinely responding to different community needs. Just as every community is different, so every ACE provider is different as well. The diversity is also its greatest weakness because it's very hard to make policy around such a broad cohort, and it's also really hard for the sector to maintain its visibility when it is so diverse and so different in every state and territory. So in terms of how many ACE providers there are, because of the diversity it's really hard to tell. Adult Learning Australia has a database of around 950 organisations who self-identify as ACE organisations. So they would vary from very large centres like the CAE in Melbourne, the WEA in Adelaide, and some community colleges in some parts of New South Wales, right through to very small volunteer adult literacy programs or volunteer community education programs. ACE organisations have a couple of things in common. One is that they have a place-based and local community focus. Another is that they are not-for-profits. And a third thing is that they are usually run by volunteer committees of management drawn from the local community. So those three features would exist across the entire ACE sector. One of the real strengths of the ACE sector is that it's one of the last parts of education that is really committed to learning across the lifespan. So most ACE organisations would have opportunities for children and young people to participate. They would have opportunities for non-formal courses and classes for adults. They usually have informal learning opportunities through programs like men's sheds, or through opportunities to take part in the civic life of the centre, volunteer groups, community groups that meet in these centres. And also many of them also offer formal vocational education and training and even higher education. There are a large group of ACE organisations who are also registered training organisations, and another very large group of adult and community education providers who work in partnership with other RTOs to deliver formal programs through their centres. So that combination of learning across the lifespan of informal, non-formal and formal learning is a really strong model and are really important for building community cohesion and also for building the skills of local communities.